So we know that our single phase induction motor is generating a pulsating torque. Okay, the magnetic field generated by stator of our single phase induction motor is pulsating magnetic field. Okay, so to understand this pulsating magnetic field, we need a theory, that is double field revolving theory. Okay, it is the operation of single phase induction motor can be easily understood using this theory. Okay, so what is this theory? So according to the theory, an alternating sinusoidal flux. Okay, here this is important, alternating sinusoidal flux. In our three phase induction motor, our rotating magnetic field is a sinusoidal flux, but it is constant. It is having the constant magnitude all over the periphery of our air gap. But coming to our single phase induction motor, we have a alternating sinusoidal flux. The magnitude of sinusoidal flux, resultant flux, is alternating here. It is alternating. It is not constant magnitude as in case of three phase induction motor. It is alternating. Okay, this is important. The value of magnetic field in the air gap periphery is keep on changing. Okay, that is alternating sinusoidal flux. It is sinusoidal, but and it is alternating. Okay, in three phase induction motor, the sinusoidal flux has a constant magnitude of 3/2 pi maximum, but in case of our single phase induction motor, it is alternating. It has no specific defined value. That's why it is alternating sinusoidal flux. Okay, and alternating sinusoidal flux can be represented by two revolving quantities here. So one alternating sinusoidal flux can be represented with two revolving fluxes. Okay, each equal to half of the alternating flux, of the value of alternating flux. So we are dividing this alternating sinusoidal flux into two components here, two revolving fluxes having the half of the value of our alternating sinusoidal flux, and each rotating synchronously in opposite direction. That means they rotate at synchronous speed but in opposite direction. If one rotates, one revolving flux rotates in clockwise direction, other will rotate in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, the net of these two fluxes will give our resultant stator flux. Instantaneous resultant flux will give our stator magnetic flux. The net of these two fields will give us stator magnetic field of our single phase induction motor. Okay, so here let us assume our alternating flux has a maximum flux value of pi m. Okay, then we have two components here. The components fluxes have, one is rotating clockwise direction, another is rotating in anti-clockwise direction, and its magnitude is equal to half of the our alternating sinusoidal flux. That means half of this pi m by 2, pi m, that will be pi m by 2, this will be pi m by 2. Okay, I am considering anti-clockwise direction as positive direction, so this will be positive, and clockwise direction as negative direction, because the phasors rotate in anti-clockwise direction. That's why I took this as positive direction. Okay, this is my positive direction of flux, this is my negative direction of flux. Okay, now let us try to understand the behavior of those two components, and they rotate at synchronous speed. You must understand that. Okay, so at first instant, let us try to consider the till now we have seen that our one single alternating sinusoidal flux is divided into two components. Okay, which have a magnitude of half of the sinusoidal flux. That if it is pi m, that will be pi m by 2. Okay, and these two are rotating in opposite direction. Okay, so now let us try to understand the rotation. What is the resultant flux at different angles? Okay, so first of all let us consider this is our pi b. So this is pi b is nothing but clockwise rotating component. Okay, so pi a is anti-clockwise rotating component. Okay, so this is the meaning. Okay, pi a is rotating anti-clockwise direction and pi b is rotating in counter-clockwise direction. Okay, so let us assume this is the angle, this is pi a. Okay, so as our net flux is sum of these two fluxes, the net flux will become like this. This is our net flux, net stator flux. Okay, stator magnetic flux, stator magnetic field, I can say this. Okay, at theta equal to 0, there is no angle between pi a and pi b. Now let us try to rotate them. Okay, after pi a is rotated a angle theta. Okay, if pi a is rotating at angle of positive theta, so pi b will rotate opposite to this pi a, that is minus theta. Okay, so let us assume this is the positive angle that pi a has been rotated, so the same angle our pi b will rotate with a negative theta. Okay, so you know that these two are having a speed of synchronous speed, that means both are rotating at same speed but in opposite direction. Okay, so the net flux will be here, in this case the net flux will be parallelogram, apply parallelogram, that will be pi m equal to 2 times. Okay, magnitude is pi m by 2, both of them are having a magnitude of pi m by 2. Okay, that will become pi m by 2 into cos of total angle by 2, cos of total angle is theta plus theta by 2. Okay, this is the net flux at this condition, that will be pi m equal to 2 get cancels, pi m into our cos 2 theta by 2, that will be cos theta. Okay, this is the function here. Okay, the instantaneous value of net flux, let us consider this as pi m is maximum value. Okay, okay, this is instantaneous, I can say pi m I. At this instant, this is the amount of flux. Okay, let us try to have a theta equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so that means the angle that rotated phi A and phi B is 90 here. Okay, phi A is 90 degree rotated, phi A and phi B will rotate anti-clockwise in clockwise in with an angle of 90 degrees. So this is the phasor position now at an angle of 90 degrees. Okay, at angle of 90 degrees, our pi A and pi B are having a angle of 180. Total angle is 180. That means the sum will be 0. Okay, because they are opposite, equal and opposite, the sum will be 0. The pi net equal to pi A plus pi A minus pi B here. Okay, because they are 180 degrees away from each other and they are equal in magnitude, that will be 0. So at theta equal to 90, that is 0. So let us try to understand at theta equal to 180. What is happening at theta equal to 180? They will again meet in reverse direction. Here this is minus pi A, this is minus pi B. The sum will be net flux will be minus 2 times pi m by 2. That will be pi m minus pi m. Okay, they are in opposite direction but having the magnitude of negative. That means let us try to draw a phasor. That means at theta equal to 0, this is our theta, this is our net flux pi m. Okay, at theta equal to 0, what is the magnitude here? It is maximum. Okay, this is maximum, I consider. Okay, pi m. So at theta equal to 90 degrees, what is the at theta equal to 90 degrees, what is the value? It is 0. At theta equal to 180, what is its value? It is minus 2m. This is minus pi m. Okay, this is pi m. Okay, that means at theta equal to 180, it is minus pi m. At theta equal to 270, it will again be 0. That means the phasor is maximum at 0 condition and minimum at 190 degrees. And this is the phasor. This is nothing but cos theta, right? This is sinusoidal waveform of cos function. Okay, this is waveform for cos function. Okay, so this is the behavior of our flexes, right? Okay, now these two flexes will link with our rotor. Okay, now let us try to understand. So our forward flex, let us consider pi A is forward flex. Okay, rotating at a synchronous speed. Okay, the slip due to forward flex is S here, and slip due to our back, this let us consider pi B as backward flex. Okay, which is rotating at synchronous speed. And what is the slip here? Slip is nothing but synchronous speed minus and having a slip of 2 minus s. Okay, the forward slip has a slip of s and our backward slip has the backward flex has a slip of 2 minus s. Okay, so these two flexes revolve in a stator winding of single phase induction motor. Let us consider. Okay, it has single phase induction motor, has single phase winding. So these two flexes revolve in single phase induction motor. They cuts with the rotor conductors which are short circuited. Okay, you know that our rotor conductors are short circuited. This pi A and pi B revolving in stator conductors cuts with the rotor conductors. There will be induced EMF. Their EMF will be induced in the rotor. Okay, some EMF will be induced in the rotor. This causing some current I2 flow in the circuit of the rotor. So that current will produce some magnetic field in the rotor. So this is magnetic field in the rotor. Now we have a magnetic field in the rotor. We have a two oppositely rotating magnetic fields pi A and pi B. It is rotating clockwise, anti-clockwise. It is rotating clockwise direction. So this magnetic field try to link with this our forwardly rotating magnetic field. Let us consider this is pi A1. This is due to magnetic field interaction between rotor magnetic field and our forwardly rotating pi A. Okay, and our magnetic field in the rotor magnetic field will also tries to links with our backwardly rotating flex. Let us consider pi B. Okay, so our rotor magnetic field try to link with stator magnetic fields. One is rotating in forward direction and another is rotating in reverse direction. That means that induce a forward rotating torque and a backward rotating torque. Okay, whenever our rotor magnetic field links with forwardly rotating stator flex, that will induce a forward torque. Whenever our rotor magnetic field links with our backwardly rotating stator flex, that will induce our backward torque. Okay, now we have two torques here. One is forwardly rotating, another is backwardly rotating. The net torque will be, total torque is sum of forward torque plus backward torque. But here, as they are having the magnitude of equal and rotating in opposite direction, our rotor has no net torque, I can say. Okay, then as let us consider it is having a pi Newton meters in forward direction and 5 Newton meters in reverse direction. The net will be 5 minus 5, that will be 0. That means there is no net torque acting on the rotor. So there is no rotation in the rotor. That's why our single phase induction motor is not self-starting. Okay, our two components in the stator have rotating in opposite direction, links with rotor magnetic field, and they try to produce their own torque in their own direction. For forward it is forward torque, for backward it is backward torque, and they are having equal magnitude which are rotating in opposite direction. That means the net torque will be 0. That's why there will be no force acting on the rotor of our single phase induction motor. That's why it is not self-starting. Okay, let us try to understand the torque here. So let us try to understand the torque slip characteristics of our three-phase single-phase induction motor. Okay, so we have one forward torque due to this. So this is due to forward torque. Let us consider this is forward direction. Okay, this is reverse direction or backward direction. Okay, that is forward direction and this is backward direction. You know that here it is equal to 1 and speed equal to 0, and here it is synchronous speed and here also it is synchronous speed. This is flex due to torque due to forward torque. Okay, torque due to forward field. Okay, and let us try to understand torque due to backward field. So this is the torque due to backward field. So this is the torque due to backward field here. Okay, here you can see that at starting what is the slip value at starting our slip equal to 1. That means this is the position at starting, right? So at starting, what is the forward torque? That is here, this is the magnitude of forward torque, and what is the backward torque? This is the magnitude. Okay, that means TF and TB. Here the total torque is sum of TF and TB, right? Okay, our TF is having a magnitude, let us consider 5 Newton meters in the positive direction. Our TB will have same magnitude in the negative direction. That means the net torque at starting is 0. Here at starting, what is the net torque here? This is forward torque, this is backward torque, having equal magnitude in opposite direction. That means the net torque is 0. That's why at starting our single phase induction motor is not self-starting. Okay, this is the understanding using our torque slip characteristics of our single phase induction motor. This is torque slip characteristics, single phase induction motor. Okay, so this is understanding why our machine is not self-starting, because there are acting two torques, forward torque, another is backward torque, but they are rotating in opposite direction at time of starting. There will be no rotation in the rotor. Okay, if you somehow rotate the rotor in one direction, our torque will, the net torque will have some change, right? If I rotate our rotor in one direction, let us say at starting S equal to 1, there is no TF equal to TB, right? Having a magnitude equal. Okay, if I rotate in one direction, let us consider I have rotated in TB direction, the net torque will be TF minus TB will be some negative value here. So that means we have some net torque. Okay, due to some rotation, I have somehow rotated the torque manually, so there will be net torque available in the machine that will increase. If this negative torque will go on increases to this time, okay, our machine will start running. That means if you somehow manage to rotate the machine manually at the time of starting, the motor will speeds up. That means the rotation will start in the rotor, because there is net torque present in the rotor, and that machine will continue to rotate and it will attain a speed near to synchronous speed. Okay, but that is not possible. Manually rotating at the time of starting all the time is not possible, because we may not access the motor. Okay, and we cannot rotate the very bigger machines. Okay, for big machines, for very large machines, we cannot rotate the rotor of that machine at starting manually. We cannot possible. Okay, that's why we need to have some starting method. Okay, we need to have some starting method. That is called auxiliary winding. Auxiliary winding. That is, the purpose is served by auxiliary winding here. Here in our single phase induction motor, we have one winding. Let us consider this is our winding dot cross. Okay, so this is having a angle of 0. So due to one single phase winding, the flex is, one is rotating in clockwise direction, another is rotating anti-clockwise direction. This is pi A and this is pi B. Right, now I am going to place another winding on the stator itself. Okay, which is also having a magnetic field of forward. Okay, here, so this is the bit here. You can see that the flex due to, this is flex due to auxiliary winding, which is rotating in forward direction of pi B. So let us consider it as reverse direction, because this is a fundamental speed. Okay, so due to this auxiliary winding, here you can see, here this and this will get cancelled, because they are having equal and opposite magnitude. The flex due to our auxiliary winding and flex due to our backwardly rotating flex will cancel out, and here the another half of our auxiliary flex will add it to our pi A. That means let us consider this is pi 1 and this is pi 2. Okay, so here pi B plus pi 1 pi 2 will get cancelled, because they are having equal and opposite direction. The net flex will be 0. That means the flex due to backward rotation is nullified by auxiliary winding flex here pi 2, and here pi A and pi 1 will add up. Okay, this will give some net flex. Okay, I hope you understand. Our auxiliary winding will induce two flexes here. One flex will cancel out the backwardly rotating flex, and another flex will be added up to our forwardly rotating flex, causing some net flex in the machine. Okay, this is the idea here. I hope you understand, right? Our auxiliary flex is also inducing two flexes rotating in same direction. Okay, one is pi 1 and another is pi 2. Pi 2 is cancelled, pi 2 cancelling our backwardly rotating flex. One flex will be nullified by our auxiliary field flex, and another flex of auxiliary field will add it to our forwardly rotating flex, that is pi A. That sum of both the flexes will be causing some net flex. This net flex will cause some net torque. This net torque will cause rotation in the machine. Rotation rotating our single phase induction motor. That's why now it will be self starting. Okay, I hope you understand the concept, because we have two equally opposite rotating flexes in the stator. Okay, due to that there is no rotation in the rotor. Okay, if somehow we manage to nullify one flex, there will be some forwardly rotating flex. That is possible having auxiliary winding. Here our auxiliary winding have two flexes here. One flex will be nullified with backwardly rotating flex, and another flex will be added to our forwardly rotating flex, causing some net flex in the machine. This net flex will cause some net torque that will rotate the machine. Okay, so this is why we use auxiliary winding at the time of starting. Okay, auxiliary winding is used at starting. Okay, let us consider this is the rotor. Okay, this is stator, and one thing I forgot to mention, the placement of auxiliary winding with stator winding is 90 degrees away. Okay, if this is my main winding, our auxiliary winding will be like this. Okay, this is my auxiliary winding. Actually it is a capacitor will be placed in auxiliary winding. A capacitor will be placed in auxiliary winding to have some 90 degrees time displacement. 90 degree time displacement will be added to our auxiliary winding due to that capacitor, and this is also having, our capacitor has a function of split phasor. It is a important thing. Our capacitor is also called split phasor. Okay. It splits the phase. One phase will be converted to two phases. Capacitor splits the phase into two times. Okay, this is split phase splitter. I can say phase splitter. Capacitor is called phase splitter. It splits one phase into two phase. Okay, that's why it is given. Okay, auxiliary winding will be having one capacitor, and this is called centrifugal switch. Okay, our auxiliary winding is having a capacitor and a centrifugal switch. Okay, this is auxiliary winding. This will be my main winding. This is rotor. Okay, this capacitor is used to have 90 degrees time displacement from auxiliary winding to main winding, and this also causes some phase split, that is called phase splitter. Our capacitor in single phase induction motor is called phase splitter. Okay, this is one important thing. And here this switch is called centrifugal switch. Okay, this is centrifugal switch. Centrifugal switch. Okay, so we use our auxiliary winding for starting purpose only. Okay, once our machine started rotating, we don't need this auxiliary winding, because this auxiliary winding will consume some current and that produces some heat in the machine. Okay, that's why we want this auxiliary winding to be disconnected after we attain some rotation in the machine. Okay, how it is possible? That is possible by our centrifugal switch. This is a switch, centrifugal switch with a speed sensitivity. This is a speed sensitive switch. This is important, speed sensitive switch. That means whenever our machine attains a speed of 75% of full load speed. Okay, let us consider this is full load speed. Our machine, whenever our machine attains 0 to 75% of full load speed, this speed sensitive switch will automatically get open circuited. That means this switch will off, disconnect from the main supply. That means our auxiliary winding will be disconnected. Auxiliary winding will be disconnected at 75% of full load speed. Okay, this is the function of centrifugal switch in our single phase induction motor. This centrifugal switch is a speed sensitive switch that open circuits the auxiliary winding whenever our rotor attains 75% of NFL. That means the switch will go to off position at 75% of rotation. Due to the rotation itself, the switch will get open circuited at some speed. Let us consider we have a rotation of 1200 rpm in our single phase induction motor. Okay, what is 75% of it? That will be around 780. Okay, 780 rpm. Okay, so once our machine attains 780 rpm, the centrifugal switch is a speed sensitive switch that will go to off position. This is on position. That will be after 780 rpm, the switch will be automatically open circuited. That opens the auxiliary winding from main winding. So there will be no use of auxiliary winding after starting the machine. Okay, if our switch fails to open after 780 rpm, that will cause some extra heat and that will damage the auxiliary winding, and that may cause the damage in stationary winding. That is what happens in our domestic fans. Okay, whenever you encounter with a winding failure, that is main due to this switch. Okay, once this switch fails to open circuit even after running at 75% of full load, that winding will be burned out after running for some time. There will be a huge current flow in the auxiliary winding that will build up some heat that melt the winding of our induction motor. So this is about double field revolving theory. And